My first race of my final season is normally the race I use to close out my spring campaign. Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Of course, my form is not at the same level as in previous editions, because I am preparing for the 3 Grand Tours, with the Giro already coming up soon. Against better judgment, I still took the start. My tactic was to put everything on one attack. That way, I hoped to have a chance to defend my title. With many crashes and gaps opening everywhere, soon only about 15 riders were left to fight for the win. I was there, together with 3 of my teammates, which was already a good start. In the finale, my confidence started to grow. My legs felt good, and I could respond calmly to attacks. On the Côte de la Rochefoucauld, I launched my move, just like last year. The difference was that this time, I didn't get away. On the drag after the climb, I tried again, but it wasn't to be. At that point, I knew it was over. The climbs were behind us, and it would come down to a sprint. Del Toro was the fastest there, beating Evenepoel. I finished 4th. After 3 years of absence, I am back in the race that is closest to my heart, the Giro d'Italia. It's also the race where I first broke through to the big stage. My hope is to grow into the race and be strong in the 3rd week. After the Giro comes the Tour, where I'll have to be at an even higher level. Lenny Martinez will be my biggest rival here, but with the team around me, I can certainly have confidence in a good outcome. The first stage shouldn't have been much of a challenge. But after a crash where I lost a lot of time, I had to chase hard with 2 teammates. The peloton didn't wait. Luckily, Girmay and Fortunato helped me back, and I finished in the bunch. Skelmoza attacked on a final uphill kicker, stayed away, and took the win and the first leader's jersey. The second stage was already a summit finish, but not much really happened. It was a bit of a sleepy day. Lenny Martinez woke everyone up with a late attack. He opened a gap and held it to the line. He took the pink jersey and already had a fine stage win in his pocket. Adria was the fastest in the first real sprint stage. The next day was champagne time. My teammate Girmay was the quickest in the bunch sprint. The day after, it was Milan's turn to win the sprint. Stage 6 had gravel sectors and some climbs. This caused splits in the race. A small group sprinted for the win. A specialist in these tough sprints, Paul Nanier, shot to victory. Stage 7 was a 40-kilometer time trial, a perfect chance to strike in the GC. I had a fantastic day and won the time trial, beating Tarling by more than a minute and a half. In the standings, I also opened a huge gap on my rivals. Stage 8 was another one that should have suited me, an uphill finish. My team set the pace on the final climb, and then I took over myself. However, I couldn't create any separation among the GC contenders. We finished together. Finn won the stage from the break. Stage 9 went to Brennan in the sprint. Stage 10 finished on a climb. When my rivals attacked, I first had Seixas control the gap. Then I went myself. I bridged across to the front and immediately dropped almost everyone. Castrillo tried to hang on, but with a kilometer to go, he was done as well. I rode to my 2nd stage win of the Giro, and my GC position is looking extremely strong. Stage 11 went to De Haye, who floored the entire sprint field. In stage 12, Jonathan Milan celebrated another sprint win from a reduced bunch. The next day, Brennan struck again in the sprint. This Giro has no shortage of time trial kilometers. A 32-kilometer time trial was next. Tarling was the strongest this time. I did well with 3rd on the day and gained more time in the GC. The coming days were extremely tough. With so much climbing, you'd almost get vertigo. Stage 15 also ended on a long climb. There were many attacks and accelerations, but I could follow quite easily. Just before a short descent, I countered, dropped August and Lenny Martinez, and gained more time. From the break, it was Uydebroeks who took the stage win. On stage 16, I had my hardest moment. With 2 kilometers to go, I had to let go. The pace was simply too high. Luckily, I had a big margin and didn't need to panic yet. Almeida won from the early break. Stage 17 was brutal. Not a flat meter. If you had a bad day, you were in trouble. Seixas had the chance to go for the win in the break. Sadly, he just missed out and finished second behind Tonizzo. For me, it wasn't the best of days either. I had to quickly find my own tempo and ride away from the other GC men. With my big lead, there was no need to force anything. Stage 18 offered a breather with a flat route. De Haye took another sprint win. The GC riders fought for the win again in stage 19. Pablo Castrillo picked the perfect moment to attack when it all slowed down just before the line. I reacted, but it wasn't enough. Second place for me, and the last mountain stage still to come. When I saw the Giro route, my eyes immediately went to stage 20. 2 ascents of Monte Grappa, 18 kilometers at 8%, one after the other. The finish was after the descent. I was eager to light it up one more time. I wanted fireworks already on the first climb. Seixas and Dalby went up the road. Halfway up, I planned to bridge. At the foot of the climb, Belletta and Scalco set a high pace to soften everyone up. When we got close to Dalby and Seixas, I attacked to close the gap. Nobody followed. On the final climb, I joined the leaders with Seixas and together we pressed on. Then, the elimination started. Seixas was incredibly strong and took me far toward the top. After that, it was my turn. I dropped the last rider and only had the descent to the line left. I gained 3 minutes on the first GC rider, August. Stage 21 was the finale, ending in a sprint won by Hobbs. I'm super happy to be back at the Giro after 3 years and to take the pink jersey again. In my final season, I couldn't possibly skip the race where it all began for me. But this is not the end. There are still more goals to chase. After a rest period, I quickly went back into preparation for the Tour de France. I only took a short week off. It helps that I started the Giro very fresh and didn't come out of it completely exhausted either. Before the Tour started, I still rode the Italian National Time Trial Championships. With Ghana not at the start, it really didn't take much effort to take the title. The Tour had already begun, though it didn't really feel like it yet when we lined up for the first stage. The first 10 days are fairly mild and relatively little will happen in terms of the GC. In a way, that's not to my disadvantage, since I'm often stronger in the second half of a race. My biggest rival will once again be Pogačar, but I definitely won't underestimate Isaac Del Toro, Evenepoel, and Lenny Martinez. Jonathan Milan won the sprint from what was left of a heavily reduced peloton. Many riders were dropped in the crosswinds. Tadej Pogačar wasted no time in stage 2. The Slovenian attacked and blasted to the stage win and the yellow jersey. A strong performance. Philipsen was the fastest in stage 3. Axel Laurence won a hilly stage in the peloton sprint. The 5th stage was a time trial. Tarling was the strongest. I finished 8th, 50 seconds down. Pogačar kept his yellow jersey. Gregoire won stage 6 from the breakaway. On the Mur de Bretagne in stage 7, I made a rookie mistake. I was too far back going into the last climb. Luckily, the time gaps weren't too bad, and I only lost 20 seconds to stage winner Albert Philipsen. Stage 8 was a bunch sprint, won by Pennoet. Milan took another sprint win in stage 9. Finally, after 10 stages, it felt like the tour was really starting. We headed into the medium mountains. The climbs weren't really long enough for me. My plan was just to follow. That didn't quite work out. On the final climb, Pogačar unleashed his fury and powered to another stage win. The sprinters didn't have to wait long for another chance. Philipsen was the fastest again in stage 11. Stage 12 finished on Hautacam, a stage that should suit me well. I was sitting just over 1 minute behind Pogačar, so something had to come off. Pogačar, however, chose to go on the offensive. I reacted and had Sasha set the pace. But the gap Pogačar opened with his explosive attack, I couldn't close it at all. Pogačar was back to his dominant old self. If he keeps controlling these mountain stages, it'll be very tough for me to take a win. Fabrizi won the stage from the breakaway. We also had a new yellow jersey. Two-time Tour winner Vingegaard took over, having been in the large break that gained a lot of time. Stage 13 was a mountain time trial, the perfect mix of both my strengths. Only one acceptable result, the win. But the Tour hadn't been going as I dreamed. I wasn't on my best day and finished third behind Del Toro and Pogačar. I'll need a very strong final week to get close to yellow. In stage 14, I made my ambitions for the stage clear right away. I had my team control the peloton and set a hard tempo on the climbs. The harder the race, the better for me. But because my team did so much work, I was isolated early. Then again, no other GC leader had many helpers left either. It turned into a one-on-one fight. With 11 kilometers to go, Pogačar went to his strongest weapon, attacking. I chose my own weapon, pacing myself and not giving up until the finish line. He quickly gained 35 seconds, but then I managed to claw back time, second by second. With 2 kilometers to go, I thought I had him. But no, he had another kick and opened a gap again. In the final kilometer, I finally caught his wheel, but by then, I was spent myself. Tadej showed once again why he's such a champion, attacking one last time and blasting to another stage victory. Philipsen won stage 15 in a sprint. Stage 16 finished on the iconic Mont Ventoux. Even though I still wanted a stage win, it wasn't worth it to have my team control all day to bring back the break. I didn't have my best legs anyway. The pace was brutal on the climb after the slow start to the stage. I'm a diesel. I prefer stages with several hard climbs. When Pogačar attacked again, I had no choice but to just hold on. I was already cracking, so it was damage limitation. Fewer stages remain, but the time gap grows. Winning all 3 Grand Tours in 1 year is no easy task. Brenner won from the breakaway. Stage 17 was another bunch sprint, won by Penhut. The next 2 stages had to be decisive, since I was 2 minutes 30 seconds behind. I had to try something. Sasius was sent up the road so he could drop back later. On the second climb, I would attack and try to open a gap on Pogačar. It was crucial to have someone up the road, otherwise I'd have to ride the valley alone. On the second climb, I launched, after strong work by Buitrago. Pogačar wouldn't let me go. First he had a teammate pull, then he chased himself. Sasius quickly came back to me. He was fresh after waiting so long. I barely held on. Luckily, Pogačar couldn't quite close at the top. Sasius absolutely flew down the descent, opening the gap to Pogačar. In the valley, we had 40 seconds. Sasius pulled the entire valley, keeping Pogačar under pressure. Just before the final climb, Pogačar, visibly tired, rejoined us. Though I wasn't fresh either, I had no choice but to attack immediately on the 26-kilometer climb. After a few tries, I finally got away, but I was on my last legs, and the finish was still so far. It was pure survival mode. I was completely empty, but the radio told me the gap to Pogačar was growing. It was a duel of dying swans. I crossed the line in 11th. but crucially gained 2 minutes and 45 seconds on Pogačar, moving into yellow by 18 seconds. Barhoumi won the stage from the break. Stage 19 was the last for the GC riders. After yesterday's war, the job was simply to avoid losing time to Pogačar, and then nothing much could go wrong in the final 2 stages. I knew I wouldn't win a stage this tour. We let the breakaway go, which also meant Pogačar couldn't gain time on bonuses. With 9 kilometers to go, I had to send Buitrago to the front because I was virtually losing yellow. Early attacker Dox, who was 16 minutes 30 down, had built an 18-minute gap. We had to react. Once Buitrago worked, the danger was gone quickly. Surprisingly, Pogačar didn't attack either. He only sprinted on the final meters. Castrillo won the stage. Even though the final 2 stages didn't carry major threats, I still had to stay sharp with just 18 seconds in hand. And I was sharp. I never let Pogačar's wheel out of sight and finished on the same time. He didn't really press anymore either. Remco Evenepoel won with a late attack. Olaf Koy won the last stage in Paris. Incredible that I've now won the Tour after also winning the Giro. I have to say this was by far the toughest Grand Tour to win. Pogačar was back at his best after being clearly weaker last year. I'm very happy with my team, who put me in this position. The only regret is not taking a stage win. But hopefully, I can still grab one in the upcoming Vuelta. The last Grand Tour of my season, but also of my career, is the Vuelta a España, where usually the competition is a bit lighter in the final Grand Tour of the year. This time that's not the case. Hugo de la Calle is here, riding his only Grand Tour of the season. He missed the Tour due to injury and now starts completely fresh. As for me, I'm beginning this race with the least condition of all 3 Grand Tours I rode this year. I've taken some rest. The fatigue is manageable, but I haven't trained much since the Tour. I just hope I can grow into the race. Let's see. The race opened with a prologue, won by Paulus. I finished 14th, 10 seconds down. Stage 2 ended in a sprint, taken by Hobbs. Stage 3 finished on a steep 8-kilometer wall. The run-in was flat, so not exactly my cup of tea. At the bottom of the climb, we as a team decided to take control and set a hard pace. That suits me much better than attack after attack. The group got smaller and smaller until it came down to a sprint. I was in Hugo de la Calle's wheel and launched first. It was the winning move. I took the stage and the red jersey. Finally, a stage win again. Stage 4 was another bunch sprint, again won by Hobbs. Stage 5 was windy. De Scoutinier won the sprint from the reduced group. On day 6, we finished uphill. I switched off for a moment and started the climb way too far back in the bunch, costing me some time. Herzog was the fastest at the top. On day 7, Hugo de la Calle attacked with 1.5 kilometers to go. I tried to chase, but I didn't get an inch closer. On the contrary, I lost more and more time. Hobbs was once again the fastest in stage 8. Then, celebration in the team. Paul Seixas won the stage from the breakaway. A fantastic victory for my teammate. I also did well, gaining some time on de la Calle. Grindley won stage 10. Colby Simmons took the 11th stage from the break. Novak sprinted to victory in stage 12. Stage 13, yet another sprint, went again to Hobbs. Stage 14 finally brought some real climbing. I attacked, or, well, I just drove hard on the front, but the stage wasn't tough enough for big differences. The top 4 crossed the line together. Ayuso took the win from the break. Stage 15 was a lumpy one. The climbs weren't super steep, but I gave it a go on the longest climb of the day. My team set the pace, and when I attacked, only Hugo de la Calle could follow. But soon after, we hit the top. On the descent, more riders came back. On the final climb, I attacked again but was countered by Staunamita. I didn't have the legs to follow. Stage 16 was another sprint, this time won by Corbin Strong. Stage 17, another summit finish, though not much really happened. Unlike in the Giro or the Tour, I don't feel the same spark in the Vuelta. The profiles don't suit me as much. The climbs are shorter, and there are lots of valleys, which means often there's only action at the very end. I still tried to ride a hard pace to drop everyone, but it didn't really work. The group was still big at the finish. I still crossed the line first from the GC riders, but the stage was won by Onley from the break. Stage 18 finished on a proper mountain. That was one I had circled. We controlled the race as a team. On the final climb, I signaled Dalby and Seixas to push the pace higher. It worked perfectly. Only 3 riders were left. When my last teammate pulled off, it was just me and Delacalle. I didn't wait. I attacked right away and dropped him. I flew away, gained more than 4 minutes, and cemented myself in the leader's jersey. Stage 19 ended in another sprint, won by Novak. Stage 20 took us back into the mountains, but nothing happened at all. The stage wasn't suited for me, and a break took almost 30 minutes. That says it all. My jersey was never in danger. Arrieta won the stage. Only, who was in the break, pulled off a masterstroke and climbed 11 places up to 2nd overall. The Vuelta ended with a hilly time trial, something that suits me well. I closed the race with another stage victory. Incredible. I've done something unique. I won the Giro, the Tour, and the Vuelta in the same year. In the end, this last one turned out much easier than I thought beforehand. It's a beautiful way to say goodbye to Grand Tours. With the World Championships and Lombardy still to come, there's still something special to aim for. The World Championship time trial? I've never won it, and I never will. I finished 6th this time. Evenepoel was the winner. Then came the road race, a course that fit me perfectly, just up and down all day. Of all the worlds I've ridden, I was most excited about this one. It would be beautiful to ride Lombardy in the rainbow jersey. In the penultimate lap, we were down to 10. Of course, Pogačar was there. He attacked, making life hell for his chasers. We came back once on the descent, but on the final climb he did the same again, leaving everyone behind. I simply wasn't fresh anymore with the Vuelta still in my legs. I had to let go. I finished 5th. Pogačar is the rightful world champion. And then, how could it be otherwise? My final race had to be on Italian soil, at the Giro di Lombardia, the monument I fell in love with. But I knew getting a result would be tough. I was exhausted, logical after my season. Still, I wanted to go out with fireworks. I attacked with 90 kilometers to go and quickly found myself alone in front. The gap rose to 50 seconds and held steady for kilometers on end. But on the final climb, I began to crack. Behind, they chased hard and closed it in one go. Still, I didn't give in straight away. When it stalled after another attack, I went again. But this time it was my own teammate, Seixas, who shut me down. I wasn't happy with that. He wanted to work together, but I refused to pull through. More riders came back. On the cobbled climb, I really struggled. But luckily, the pace eased and I got back in. In the sprint, I finished at the 7th place. Korg won. I'm happy with how I raced, but I regret my own move being countered by my teammate. Looking back, I should have cooperated immediately. Then we might have had something. was it. My bike goes on the rack. I had big ambitions when I started my career, but for them all to come true is something else entirely. I've exceeded myself. Winning all 3 Grand Tours in one season is something that will put me in the history books. I've truly enjoyed battling the best on earth. The duels in the Tour were just beautiful. I've raced in fantastic teams and made friends for life. I'm ready for the next chapter. To everyone, thank you. It was truly fantastic. This is what it means to quit at the very top.